Please start the program.
Namaskaram to everybody, and here's a very, very hearty welcome to all of you to yet another edition of the Smart CA series of webinars. And this is titled Ananda and Happiness, of course. And in these webinars under the Ananda series, we don't talk about law, audit, taxation, and other matters of academic interest. Rather, we move into something that's beyond the ordinary. And in this edition, we have with us Shri N. Venkataraman, Additional Solicitor General, Union of India, and he's here to talk about professional dharma. So here's a very, very hearty welcome to all of you to this webinar and to Shri N. Venkataraman in particular. I'd also like to take this opportunity to welcome Shri E. Om Prakash, Senior Advocate, who's here and who happened to introduce Shri N. Venkataraman to us. So without much ado, a topic of great contemporary relevance and perhaps timeless and ageless dharma, and more particularly professional dharma. May I now kindly request Shri Om Prakash sir to introduce Shri N. Venkataraman to this audience. Thank you very much, and do stay on.
A very good evening to everyone. I have to first express my sincere thanks to Madam Sri Priya for having given me this opportunity to be part of this wonderful session of Ananda, a series of feel-good webinars. My heartfelt thanks to Mr. N. Venkataraman sir in advance for bearing with me in this small introduction of him. Sri Priya had invited me only because of the affinity she has to me, the bondage having developed in the last few years, and not that I could do this job better than anyone. Let me tell you two happenings at the first instance before I get to carry on with the assigned job. During the year 2006, an advocate of Madras High Court carried a brief to the Honorable Supreme Court and was forced to stay in Delhi for a few months in handling the litigation before the Supreme Court, as well as assisting one of the top lawyers in that litigation before the court. On the completion of the litigation successfully, the said top lawyer handed over a letter to the advocate from Chennai addressed to the then Honorable Chief Justice of Madras High Court. The said letter complimented the advocate of Madras High Court for his acumen and professional skills and proposed to the Chief Justice for considering designating the advocate as a senior advocate. The Honorable Chief Justice placed the proposal before the full court and the advocate was designated as a senior. After a decade, in February 2017, the Madras High Court designated a few advocates as senior advocates. Immediately thereafter, the then Chief Justice, Honorable Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, was elevated to the Supreme Court. The senior advocates of Madras High Court organized a felicitation, and the newly designated seniors were part of the function. One of the junior-most of the said newly designated seniors was finding himself as a school fresher in the gathering. Noticing the same, Mr. R. Krishnamurthy, senior advocate and a doyen of the bar amongst all the seniors present, had introduced this junior to many of the seniors present with a word or two. And when it came to an introduction to one of the seniors, Mr. Krishnamurthy said that you need to emulate the virtues of this person if you want to be successful in profession. The person I referred in both the instances is none other than the speaker of the day, Mr. N. Venkataraman, also fondly known as NV. After his enrollment as an advocate, Mr. Venkataraman was junior for 14 years to Mr. Senior Advocate Mr. C. Natarajan, a tax expert. In 2003, Mr. Venkataraman started his independent practice, and as I said earlier, in 2006, that is within 3 years of his independent practice, he was designated as a senior advocate. In another 10 years, he was a role model for the upcoming senior advocates. As a matter of fact, Mr. N. Venkataraman does not require an introduction to this august gathering, and in fact, I am the odd person for the day. However, custom requires that I say a formal introduction of the speaker. Before I make my way and stay with you all to hear the speaker on the topic for the day, let me just say a few facts about the speaker. Mr. N. Venkataraman is the son of Madurai soil and had completed his law graduation in Madurai in the year 1989. He has the distinction of having appeared in all 23 high courts of the country, all specialized appellate tribunals and other forums, He has been doing extensive work in tax laws, be it direct taxation, indirect taxation, or international taxation. He has developed a large expertise in constitutional law, various regulatory matters like competition law, and energy resources. He has the credit of having appeared before the 9 judges bench of Honorable Supreme Court in entry tax matter, Sabrimala case, and other constitutional benches on substantial issues of national importance. He advises global MNCs, Indian MNCs, leading business houses, multinational chartered accountant firms, law firms on various international commercial matters. A browse of the YouTube channel would throw more light of this multifaceted personality with his lectures as advocate, senior advocate, his motivational speeches, discourses on Vedas, talks to juniors in profession, and he being a teacher, discourses to the youth. He is also the person behind running a Veda Patasala with utmost dedication and devotion. His talks touch upon the concerns of the nation, nationality, ethos, value, and legal issues connected to it, emphasizing to the youth of this country concerning erosion in values and traditions and to upkeep the same. He is an epitome of humility in life who exemplifies himself by his own acts. As the Additional Solicitor General of India, he is continuing his path in rendering the best of his services to the country. The Government of India is availing his services in all sensitive matters, and I could say with conviction that because of his contribution in the last 1 year, the government would have saved at least 15,000 crores of rupees in which the government had lost certain important litigations. But for his intervention, the government would have been forced to make these payments. There are other briefs which he is handling, which runs to about 20,000, 30,000 crores where stakes are involved. He has been part of the legal team of the Government of India in various international meetings. Now, coming to the topic, professional dharma. Righteousness is the dharma for an individual. The speaker of the day is an epitome of such righteousness. He had been advocating the righteousness for the youngsters, and he has taken up the task for professionals. In one of his felicitations by the Madras Tax Bar, when the bar members wanted to felicitate him, he immediately said, "Let me use this opportunity, not for the purpose of being felicitated. Rather, I will have certain talks to the junior members of the bar." The interactive session, which is available in YouTube, is very interesting to watch. Now, dharma in a profession of an individual should start from the reverence to the guru in profession. There cannot be any other advocate than our speaker, Mr. NV, who had revered and worships his senior, Mr. C. Natarajan, and the epitome of it was the function of Guru Vandanam for his senior. As I said, this is also available in YouTube, which will be an eye-opener for every person who enters a profession and who wants to excel himself in such profession. With these words, I take leave. Welcome, sir, and the forum is yours now.
So thank you very much, Om sir, for these very, very nice words of introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, could I please request you to put your virtual hands together as we applaud and thank Sri N. Venkataraman for having consented to this lecture. Over to you, sir.
Mala Sudha Kumbha Vibodha Mudra Vidyavirajat Karavari Jata Aparakarunya Sudambu Rashim Shri Sharadambam Pranatosmi Nityam. Namaste to each one of you. Thanks, Sri Priya. Thanks a ton, Om Prakash, my good friend. In fact, I came into contact with Sri Priya Kumar very recently through Om Prakash, who is an expert and a leading senior counsel in the country today in the IBC laws. Up to Supreme Court, he renders advice and does matters in very big scale, very, very humble person. And when I had to draft a very important opinion in IBC last year for one of the important ministries, I took his assistance, and in the process, we had the chance of working also with Sri Priya, who is a resolution professional, beside being a chartered accountant doing this branch of law. And the interaction was extremely professional and beneficial to all of us, and the government is very happy with that opinion. And that's how we started to know each other, and then now it has landed us finally into this talk. But before I talk, I think I should, this was the news I heard, and I got through some small snippets. that 150 chartered accountant professionals have joined hands and have been working for the last 1 month or even more in helping COVID-affected people across the state. And you have been feeding close to 30,000 people, 30,000 meals per day for the past 1.5 months or so. It's hats off to each one of you, and it's a great dharma, the need of the hour, and a professional putting his resources and his time and his abilities, his or her abilities into it, spearheaded by Sri Priya and a team of people. It is so nice and so encouraging to show that all of us are concerned with our own sisters and brothers and their welfare, especially during the time of health crisis. With these words, let me try to speak a few things about professional dharma. Before we go actually to professional dharma, we must first understand what is dharma. Then we will see whether there is a professionalism to it or not. What is dharma as on June 11th, 2021? We should start from there. Dharma today is, forget the definitions, our convictions, the convictions of the majority human race is, what is dharma? I have to be very successful. I have to be extremely happy. I have to get whatever I want in life. Fame, name, prosperity, wealth, recognition, power. Name it. I have to get it. So, the definition of dharma today is getting what you want. And as a fallout of it, what happens is we have now redefined dharma to mean means are no longer relevant or important. It's the end that matters. If you're able to do something and achieve it, irrespective of the way in which you achieve it, happiness, success is dharma. The third component of present day dharma is there is nothing called black and white. There is nothing called dharma or adharma. It's all bundled together, and therefore gray forms the basis of human life and existence. The way most of you are chartered accountants, some of you may be advocates, the way we see the news items across the globe, the large financial frauds that has been happening for almost 1.5, 2 decades, starting possibly from the global meltdown, which preceded even that, and the kinds of things that are happening in various parts of the world. And all of you must be well aware of those facts. So there is nothing called, you need to have a codified ethics or a form to which you have to be committed to deliver something, achieve what you can. The fourth dimension to it is there is no fear of punishment. That's very, very clear. You don't feel, because the process across the world, especially the criminal justice system, is extremely slow. So, no worry, keep going. 8 out of 10 times, you will not get caught. And in case someone is get caught 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10, society no longer attaches any disgrace to these things. It has become quite normal, quite acceptable now that there is no sense of, say, a loss of dignity or grace. So when you bundle all this together, the preaching or the philosophy by every individual today is, this is the world order. Accept this world order. Be a part of the world order. Don't be a fool to fight against the tide. Accept it and move along with it. Within which, if you want to follow a few things, you attempt at it. Otherwise, it is no longer necessary for you to be talking about that. I have placed this small bouquet at the beginning of this introduction of the speech for the only reason, the hope that some youngsters may be listening to it. You will be induced to your world. You would have all done your schools, your colleges, and your aspirations in a very, very different scale. And within 6 months to 1 year, when you start interacting with people, you will start getting exposed to these types of distractions in life. Now, as a second phase, why should this happen this way? And why not the other way? That could be a question possibly we can pose to ourselves. The answer they give is, look here, are we not happy? Have we not achieved? Have we not got the power? Have we not got the position? What is that I don't get by not resorting to this new found method? That's the first question. Why should, therefore, when 8 out of 10 people achieve it that way, why should I be 1 out of 10 not doing that? So to those youngsters, I want to put this question. They have got everything in life. Because when I'm going to explain a little later, non-dharmic or adharmic doesn't mean you will suffer in life. You will actually enjoy life. But where will it finally end up is the question which we need to understand. So they may be right in their understanding, but I'll ask only 2 questions. These people whom you cite as examples, are they respected and are they remembered after them? See, any young professional, it's mandatory, not only for a professional, any young aspiring individual who wants to progress in life must have some reasonable connect with his country's values and traditions, with his country's heroes and high achievers. And if he is a professional, he must also acquaint with him those doyens, those legends who had lived and exhibited great professional talent, and the living legends who continue to exhibit it in various forms. So I put a question to these young minds. Read this history, read about your nations and its heroes and high achievers, starting from Shivaji or Jhansi Rani or anybody, Swami Vivekananda. And if you are a chartered accountant, catalog the 10 great distinguished legends you have seen. If you're a lawyer, see, as a senior counsel, as a lawyer with say 3 decades experience, our immediate recollection, we will trace it to, each one will trace to somebody. I will trace it to Nani Palkiwala as my great inspiration before I came into the profession. And God blessed me with a senior who had every of the ethics and the talent and the skill and the integrity and the humanness of Nani Palkiwalaji, late Sri Natarajan. And if you want of a living, and Justice Chagla, Muhammad Chagla, you should read his books, his writings. Then comes, if you take it as living legends, Parasaran sir, or RK sir, which Om was referring to, our present Attorney General, Shri K.K. Venugopal, who is 89 years old. When he convenes a VC call at 6:30, he will be the first to log in at 6:28 and wait. Truly professional. So please trace those legends living in the past in your mind. Figure them out. There must be something about them in writings or in YouTube. Go and watch it. And then answer this question, why are they remembered today? And why the rest are not remembered that much? This is one question I want to park in the minds of young children. Now the second point is, whatever formula which world has devised now for success, please go to the root of the issue. You will find ultimately it only breeds greed in life and not contentment, peace, or harmony. You ask this question to yourself. You may be the most successful professional. But are you at peace? Are you in harmony with the society, with your family? Are you leading a contented life? People who have evolved this new dharmic principle for 2021 and encourage others to do it, that they say this is the model you have to follow to live in the world, they may be extremely successful, no doubt about it. But ultimately, bottom line, greed will, whether they want it or not, they will wed themselves to greed. And in the process, lose these three things. Now, the third aspect which I want to place in the minds of young children are, there are two paths. See, whatever we now discuss, there is no compulsion. It is a viewpoint. There can certainly be cross viewpoints or multiple viewpoints. And this is only one viewpoint. Up to you to accept it or not accept it. There's no compulsion or a force. But I want to put certain logical questions to the young minds, young professionals who are the future of this great country. The third aspect which you should merit in mind is certainly, if an adharmic will be successful in life, he or she, no doubt about it. But what happens to their sustenance? Do they survive forever in that frame? If a more successful person with a more manipulative tendencies dominates, this man or woman will be thrown out and he will get substituted there. So this is cyclic. This is for a time frame or a period. But downfall at some point of time is a certainty. Whereas when we are talking of legends whose names I referred from my profession, you will also have a lot of heroes like that, or great characters like that. Now, you please put this question, why are they sustaining even after they have departed? So there's no downfall for somebody who is a practitioner of them. And he's also successful. They are also successful. It's not that they failed in life. How did they become successful? We are going to now see it after a short while. So they are successful and they are still remembered. So what did they do is the question that you need to ponder upon and find answers. So this is the third aspect I thought I should. And the last fourth aspect is very, very, very important. The newfound grey dharmic definition not only makes one greedy, it ultimately makes him or her extremely selfish. Is it true or is it not? Check for yourself. There's something to do with your mind game. It's something to do with your subhava, your abilities, your tendencies rather. So this new methodology leads you to become a more and more selfish person. And if family is going to be dominated, let's put the clusters as family, as society, as nation, as individual, all the four. If an individual is going to dominate and it dominates in a family and in a society and in a nation, what happens as an output, as a result of it? Selfishness and greed always has the tendency only to produce conflicts and therefore fight. So it creates conflicts between individual and individual. In spite of the fact you are successful, in spite of the fact you have accumulated a lot of wealth, you won't stop. It's a bottomless pit. So there will be a conflict, individual versus individual, family within family, then society versus society, and finally nation versus nation. And if nations and societies are going to be dominated by this newfound theory of living a grey life, which is an acceptable living standard, we are reminded of the popular story all the grannies would have told all of us as young children. There was a headman who wanted suddenly 250 liters of milk for a particular cause. And the village had 500 families. So he issued a command saying that we will be placing a huge vessel at the temple entrance, and it will be a closed vessel. We request each of the family to offer half a liter milk into it, so that we collect 250 liters and then give it to that cause. So some thought, at least one or two thought, after all, it's going to be 250 liters of milk. So let me just pour half a liter of water. Why should I contribute milk? So if 2 or 5 people put water, then milk, 250 liters will still remain as only milk. If 50 people put it, it will still be milk. Even if 100 people put it, it will be like our wayside tea shop milk. But what happened to the utter shock of that headman when he opened the lid? He found out 250 liters of water. So all the 500, they chose, well, let's put half a liter water. Somebody else will be putting milk, and therefore they will not find us out. But to the utter dismay and shock, it finally ended up with 250 liters of water. This will be the consequence if we now approve this methodology of a grey, decent grey life. There's chalta hai, nothing is wrong. We have to be prudent. We have to be practical and get along with it. So this is the zone, and it will land us as a nation and as a society into a danger zone where when you open the Pandora box of the vessel, you will find only water and not a drop of milk. Now, having spent about 20 minutes on this, let me ask only one question to you. There are 2 ways to pursue life. And the choice is always with the human being. We can't blame the maker or God for this. Don't involve him. He is nowhere responsible for what we do. Even though our tendencies inherited over the previous birth will influence us, and that is our own creation. He is there to help and guide and instruct, but we can't be blaming him for what we do. Now, there are 2 clear options available for every young mind, aspiring mind. There are only 2 basic needs for every human being and youth which wants to come up in life, namely artha, material wealth, and kama, which is material desire. So you have material desires, which you therefore want to transform into material wealth and prosperity, happiness, power, recognition. Do it in whatever way you want. These are the 2. If you reduce it down to concept, these are the 2. Now, whatever we have been discussing for say 20 minutes, if you pursue your life only for artha and only for kama, material desires and material wealth, translating into material wealth, and with no dharma in it, we will land like the village headman opening the vessel, thinking it contains milk. Now, what does therefore our philosophy says? See, when we refer to either Ramayana, Mahabharata, or Upanishads, or any such thing, please understand, all these texts are actually secular texts. It has a religious flavor. Whoever wants to pursue it in that religious way can pursue. But it doesn't bar or restrict only for religious aspirants, because they talk about our daily life, our daily routines, and how we can reorganize or reinvent or reorient ourselves into a better human being. And if we have the capability to pursue higher goals beyond this body, mind, and intellect and connect with the inner consciousness, then it's a different story. So it is a secular subject and therefore I don't want young minds to lose the opportunity of being away from it under the pretext that it is being given a religious color. No. So, therefore, our forefathers for yugas, creation after creation, have been saying, if you want artha and kama, nobody says dharma means renouncing life. That is a complete misconception. If somebody comes and tells you, hey, dharma means you have to stay in a hermitage and then tonsure your head and wear some robes which are a different color, saffron robes, and then start doing meditation. That is not dharma. In fact, Karma Yoga very clearly says that is adharma for those who are not matured enough to go and do that pursuit and attempting to do and fail there and also fail in the society. So, dharma, now, artha and society, I mean, every thought process acknowledges that as human beings, you are entitled to artha and kama. You are entitled to your material wealth and your desires. But they only put a prefix to it. Do it with dharma. So, use dharma as a platform to quench your desires and gain your material wealth and lead a contented, happy, and a very peaceful life. Or give up dharma, pursue the same, because all of us are professionals doing the same thing. We are not doing different things. Pursue the same goal, giving up dharma, and end up as a greedy person, as a selfish person, as a person who has lost contentment, who has no peace of mind, and finally end up as a rak. So the choice is between the two. So a young mind can now prompt a question, saying, all right, conceptually we are okay. We don't mind traveling into testing the path, testing the waters of dharma. We don't mind. But you're telling greediness, greedy, being selfishness, etc. But we want to understand in step-by-step process. Please tell us how non-practice of dharma leads. If you start here, you will end up here. We want to have a roadmap. We want to have the ingredients very clearly mapped in our mind for us to be convinced. We do agree at a conceptual way, you may be right. It's good to have dharma. But what if you don't have dharma? So let's see the steps that can follow suit if you don't practice dharma in your life. Not necessarily professional dharma, dharma everywhere. More importantly in the profession, because that's the time where we spend most of our valuable time only there. Our active time is always involved in our professional work. In fact, profession starts from this. Etymologically, if you go profess, to do, to dispense and serve as a duty, the knowledge of the skill you possess. That is why all of us are called as professionals. But today, the definition of professional is extremely different. So what can happen to somebody who does not follow dharma? So Bhagavan Shri Krishna in the Gita catalogs the secrets so beautifully, so beautifully. The first step you can take is have your desires rooted to dharma or not rooted to dharma. So if your first step is going to be desires without dharma, your conduct slowly and steadily will transcend from a mere desire into delusion. This is inevitable. Delusion is the equivalent as moham. From kamam, it will transform into moham. Mindless, reckless state of mind, deluded. The urge by Duryodhana to somehow become the princess first, and later the Chakravarti, Arch. It was a desire you have to apply, as we have democratic process today, those process of selection of kings were different in those yugas. You can't say, no, it's democratic, not democratic, we can't be arguing. Going by the timelines and the principles that was the rule book at that point of time, he could not have aspired for it at the first instance. And having aspired, and the urge remaining in him so strongly, and the mind ready to give up dharma, first translates into delusion. So, deluded Duryodhana and a crooked Shakuni joined together. Don't read Mahabharata as a religious text, not necessary. Read the characters. It is one of the best texts for you to comprehend and understand human psychology and how human mind works in a given situation, and how the meeting of minds results in goodness or badness in the company in which one keeps. So, the deluded mind of Duryodhana was capitalized by Shakuni with his cunningness and crookedness, and what happened thereafter is history. So, non-dharmic desires first lead you to delusion. Then the second stage is delusion will slowly drive you to become demonic, because you have to act. It's not that you just get stationed at that level, at a conceptual level. All right. If you're only deluded and you don't act, at least you get destroyed only your mind. You don't destroy somebody else. So it will force you to do something. So when you act, you will not mind doing even a demonic act. Take, for example, in Mahabharata, the Varanavadam. The way they planned, both Duryodhana and Shakuni, the way they planned to kill Kunti and rest of the 5 Pandavas, putting them in a wax house and burning them to nothing. Will any human heart accept it as a dharmic act by someone else? When he has been declared to be the princess and the prince, and therefore the Chakravarti in a short while, and sent tactically to that place to perform the family deities' rites, stay in a place and get burnt to nothing. So it will make you to do demonic acts. Now, the next stage, these demonic acts will result ultimately in defeats. It may give you short success. As Kunti very cleverly planned there, at the time of, they all escaped, because we all know the story of Mahabharata. Mahabharata continues even after Varnavatam. But she was very clear and told the Pandavas, let Duryodhana have the feeling that he has succeeded. He needs to do that now. We have to give that comfort to him. Otherwise, he will be after us. It's hell for us. Let's now first buy peace for ourselves. Let him feel that we are dead. So let's not show our faces to the world. It's a tactical move. But a demonic act, not recognized by Dharma, ultimately leads to defeat. So when Duryodhana realized after a while that these people have not been killed, then he starts to take further decisions. Desperation, defeat leads to desperation. You become desperate. Somehow, you can verify. You don't have to every time go to Duryodhana or Ravana or somebody. You can check up with your own friends. You can check up with your own circles, people who are visible to you, around you. So, this desperation forces you to take decisions, and you will enter a zone where you will not mind employing deceit. So deceit is dharma. And if you employ deceit as a tool to achieve something, it finally leads to destruction. Whether it's an individual or a family or a society or a nation. By missing one D, it's called the series of Ds, if you want to put it in our modern style of education. You miss one D, dharma. What follows? Desire, leading to delusion. Delusion, leading to demonic acts. Demonic acts, leading to defeat. Defeat, making you desperate. Desperation leads you to deceit. And deceit leads you to destruction. Missing one D, you will follow the queue of 7 other Ds in life. It's a question of time. Some may have it early, some may have it later, some may have it spread away. That's all based on one's own tendencies, their prarabdha. Let me not get into the philosophy at the moment. We have to understand the true concept. That's more important and paramount for us at this stage. So, by leaving out one, the steps you take as a professional, the steps you take as an individual, the steps you take as a man with civic sense to the society and as a committed citizen of a nation, can you be working in this style of a bundle to say, Chalta hai, what we do is all right? If everybody starts doing this all over, if you are ready to inflict it on the society, we should also be ready that they will inflict it on us. They are not going to spare us. When you are not going to spare, that will come back to us in some way or the other. See, imagine, we are all our professionals, advocate, doctors, engineers, marketing experts, media. If all of us decide to give up dharma once and for all, and go the way it leads life, what will be our contribution into this universe? Will this tragedy, which Bhagavan Shri Krishna points out in the Bhagavad Gita, these 7 Ds, will it follow suit or not? So now the question a young mind can ask is, all right, sir, please tell us, you have told us the negatives, because you will always want both. Modern mind is quite curious and it has to be convinced. Otherwise, it's not going to do it. The days are gone where you just follow blindly, saying that my parents have done it, therefore I do it. I do it and request you to do it, and you do it, your children will do it. That period is gone. You need to explain, and therefore you must gain the competency to explain it to your children. And they put the question, why should we? So the question is, if you ask, sir, all right, fine, tell me now, let me forget all these 7 Ds, with 1 D dharma, what will happen? Now, Krishna explains this beautifully to so many people in the course of Mahabharata in different facets, but puts it as in a nutshell to Draupadi. He says, these are the components which play a very crucial role in dharma. What are the components? Your heart, your mind, your intellect, and your body, which philosophy also calls it as the BMI, body, mind, intellect principle. So these 4 bundles should be filled with what? Krishna explains, fill your heart with selfless love. 150 professionals have joined together. They have filled their heart with love decided to spend their resources, decided to allocate their time, decided to contact their own people, their own connects, and bring them in on board. In fact, they were narrating. They were wondering that we have now found the resources, but who is going to be there to cook? Suddenly somebody emerges. I have all the infrastructure. Let me cook and give it to you. It'll happen. It will happen. It had happened. It is happening, and it will happen. Because law of nature has its own way of which we don't cognize. So the first ingredient is selfless love in your heart. How much to what? See, nothing happens overnight. It's better to know and then believe, then instill faith, and then start practicing it slowly. It's a process. Nothing transforms overnight. But if you get the conviction, then transformation has begun. So fill your heart with selfless love. That's the first ingredient Krishna demands. Your heart should be filled with pure love. 2, your mind should be filled with courage. Nothing else. You don't need anything else. Knowledge, lack of knowledge, all that. We have the story of Totaka and we have the story of Padmapada. The most learned and the most not learned. And both were devotees of Adi Shankara. And both are remembered today. So, courage in your mind. 3, Om was referring to righteousness. It's a very good definition for that. What Krishna says, Nyayam, truthfulness or righteousness. Righteousness in your buddhi or your intellect. And the 4th, the whole body, a mind to offer, a mind to do a samarpan to your cause. If you are in a profession, to the professional cause. So, please take these 4. Selfless love from the heart, courage from the mind, righteousness from the buddhi, and the tendency to offer or do a samarpanam through your whole body. And Krishna assures, if all these 4 fall into line, the output that will generate is an act soaked in Dharma. So the top of the pyramid is Dharma. So Dharma requires selfless love, courage, righteousness, and ready to offer the body for doing a work. Not feeling lazy, not feeling very indolent or getting indulged in things which are not so good to carry on your professional work. So you will then transform whatever you do when all these 4 fall into line will be dharmic. You don't have to go and learn somewhere. It's not a school to learn. These are only ideas. Just populate it in your mind. It's not learning. And finally, Krishna says, the top of the pyramid is dharma. You must also know the root of the pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid or root of the pyramid, one who has these 4 qualities who then delivers dharma, will always remain a very, very compassionate person. What more do we require? So the roots would be compassion. The top of the pyramid is dharma, and within which these 4 bundle of 4 elements travel together. And now the choice is given to you. Whether you want to leave dharma and get into the trap of the 7 steps, or you want to inherit dharma and then follow these 4 courses so that you remain a very compassionate, empathetic jiva, soul, or person, or a human being, and ending up doing as much dharma as is possible in life. Now the question a young mind will ask is, all right, sir, now give us an option. We'll think about it. All right, we will think about it. But suppose we want to follow this course of dharma. You're broadly given courage, broadly given love and all. What should I do as a professional? to be on the dharmic path. So, picking up, I said the 7 as the D series. Now we'll give you a S series of 15 elements, bundled in 3 packets of 5 each, because they are in 3 stages. And when you say 50, oh my God, it means 15 steps. No, not like that. Most of it you would have had it already. You have to only connect and cognize it. That is all. That is all. If you have to only stay connected to it. So there are 15 baby steps. The 15 critical yes, which you possibly have to practice or follow in life. It's one suggestion given by our various scriptural writings and the truthful texts emerging from this nation as our value system. Now, the first critical 5, first packet is, as a professional, even as a human being. See, dharma means not renouncing. Dharma means not being very meek. Dharma means remaining weak. All this is misconception about dharma. You can't practice dharma if you are weak and weak. It's not possible. Was Mahatma Gandhi weak? He practiced dharma and satya all throughout his life. Was he a weak person? Never. A coward person cannot practice satya and dharma. Take it. Cowardice is no basis for that. So the first packet of 5 yeses, first yes is self-confidence. Because it is only self-confidence in the mind which develops into courage and lead becomes a habit. You must have self-confidence, and there is a huge difference between self-confidence and arrogant. The borderline is very thin. You are entitled to be self-confident, but not arrogant. Then you will become a courageous person. One first yes. Second, self-respect and not being disrespectful to any human being. It's very, very critical for them. Ahimsa is an important aspect in life. So you may be wondering, oh, you're a lawyer and you're talking ahimsa. Yeah, we fight every day in courts. I'm a fighter for 32 years. But there's always one conviction which my senior taught on day 1. You should fight a case. You should fight a transaction. Never fight a human being in your life. Then you are not worthy enough to be called as a human being. Let him do the worst of things against you in the court. He should still be called as a learned friend. So, dissect the act, dissect the transaction and deal it. No problem. But never condemn the human being, because every human being is a creation by God for its own reasons. Let me not step into philosophy today. We'll have it some other time. So self-respect is the second ingredient. Third, skill sets and smartness. See, unless you have good skills, efficiency, dharma, to practice dharma, you have to be very, very efficient. See the examples which we have cited, Naniji or my senior, or Justice Chagla, or Rasaran sir, or RK sir, or Hekivi sir. Keep adding from our profession. Any number of people. There's one living legend in Bangalore who was a former Advocate General, Mr. Holla, Senior Counsel. At 12 o'clock, he will be ready to give you an appointment and discuss matters. There are people at 70 doing this today in this country. So, you have to possess good skills. You should sharpen your skill sets. If you want to practice Dharma, don't think, because I practice Dharma, even if I don't have skill sets, I will shine in life. Well, you may shine. Dharma will protect you. If you practice only Dharma and not do your profession, then you are a very exalted person, needs to be only worshipped. But when you want to be in the profession and you want to succeed in the profession, you should have good skill sets. And the fourth ingredient is shrewdness. You need to be very shrewd. In fact, there are multiple stories on shrewdness. There was a king who wanted to get his daughter married. He had a man in mind, another king from some kingdom. Whereas this princess loved somebody else. And she wanted to choose him in a Swayamvara. So there was a tip between the father and the daughter. So the king said, after all, the choice is two. I have one and you have another. So let's put two papers, chits, before our family deity and choose one. Whoever comes, I'll get you married. Don't worry. So the girl thought, instead of losing the battle, at least let me condescend and go for this option. At least there's a 50% chance. So the king, as in all his shrewdness, wrote the person of his choice in both the chits, which this princess came to know. So what did she do? She had to manage. She can't expose her father because he's the king of the country. But she has to achieve what she wants to do. So she goes, picks up her chit, opens it, smiles, enjoys, and then eats it. Then the king got worried and he said, how can you do it? You have to show me the chit. Only then he's a declared winner. And she handled the situation. What did you say? There'll be two chits with two people. So the one I have picked is whom I wanted to marry. You have given me that option. You see the other chit there, open it up, it will be the other man only. So when he had written the names of both the same name twice, she swallowed one of the chits. By default, the other man, when he opens it, it will be only the other man. So she got over the situation. Shrewdness is very, very essential for you to see. You have to be, the whole of Mahabharata is about shrewdness, timely actions. See, in the same Varnavadam, how does Vidura communicate that they are going to be killed and they should be prepared? He sends a messenger with a bag of paddy and a white mouse into it. After all, they're all kings, going to be kings, and they're all living in a royal place. Will they not be fed? He said, no, this is what Vidura has asked you to hand over. And also sent one message. As you go deeper underground, you can reach greater heights in life. That is the beauty of paddy. You sow it and it reaps to enormous harvest. This is the message Vidura wanted to convey you. Shrewd. Nobody will understand all this. And handed over a white mouse which came out of the bag. This white mouse takes the payasam prepared with poison, which was to be fed to them and then burnt, and it dies. And when the wax house started burning, then Dharma and Arjuna come to the conclusion. Look here, what has Vidura told us? You go deep into the soil, then you'll sprout like a banyan tree. So time to go underground and then escape. Because there is fire on the sides. I can cite you millions of examples from Mahabharata. Millions, not just thousands. So shrewdness, and first and the last S in the first set is sherke or association or satsang. The company which you keep matters the most. Krishna tells about Karna. He tells you are a very dharmic person. You are a lotus stuck into a marsh, because lotus blossoms only in a marsh. But somebody has to pick that lotus and then put it at the lotus feet of Mahavishnu for that lotus to attain glory and Mahavishnu to bless. So if the lotus remains only in the marsh and doesn't reach the sacred feet of Mahavishnu, then what is the use of that lotus? So you are in bad company, Karna, however dharmic you may be. So satsang, these 5 elements goes into the first packet. Now come to the second packet. Once you have these 5 ingredients in your mind to practice dharma, please remember the second set is equally critical. Dharma is always very slow and steady. Dharma doesn't give quick results at all. If you want quick success, immediate success, transient success, dharma is not the way which can give it to you. It takes a very, very long time for it to mature. So are you ready to run the race slowly and steadily and go that way? Because nature basically moves very slow. Human mind, aggressive human mind works the other way. So slow and steady. But the second ingredient is selflessness. You can't be selfish and also practice that. When Karna is about to die in the battlefield, he puts a question to Krishna. Says, Krishna, am I not equal to Arjuna in talent and valor as an archer? Why have not been recognized? World has not recognized me even once. And I have been struggling only for that all throughout my life. Whereas the other guy, Arjuna, gets it every time. And why should I now die again without that glory of being an archer, one of the finest archers in the world? Krishna replies to Karna, Karna, see, whatever Mahabharata I narrate, there are multiple versions. I am more attracted with this narration of this Mindu Mahabharata of Vijay. I mean, there are 267 episodes. It brings out the philosophy for a common man, for a modern man, so beautifully and scientifically. So for reading faith, you have to go to the original text. For understanding it in the modern way, modern calibrations, this text can certainly help. So he gives an explanation to Karna, saying, Karna, there are two things. You have been offering donations and gifts throughout your life early in the morning. Throughout. Selflessly, without expecting anything in return from anyone. For which world will speak till the sun and moon shines in this universe. World will keep speaking about your ability as a donor. Somebody has to compare, someone as a big donor, they will compare only with Karna. Nobody can surpass that. I will give that to you throughout your life, even after your life, because you have done it in a selfless way. But what you are asking is a recognition of your valor as an archer. I won't give you that. Because tell me in your life, have you taken one bow, one arrow, and put it on your bow to kill any enemy for the sake of protecting a kingdom, for the sake of winning a war for your nation? Have you fought one single battle? Tell me. You have always been sharpening the arrows, waiting for an opportunity to kill Arjuna and prove the world that you are a better archer, which will never happen because it is soaked with selfishness. That was your only agenda, whereas Arjuna's agenda is not only to kill you. He has been serving himself as a warrior in various battlefields. So, remember, it is not the curse of Parshurama that you will alone forget your skill set in the last minute. This is a curse to every human being who is very selfish. A selfish human being who keeps progressing so rapidly in life, at some point of time has to choke, because somebody cannot sustain in glory and valor and glory and success just simply out of selfishness. And when the need really comes, they will forget their skill set. Their contacts will go, their power will go, their recognition will go, everything will go out of them because they have been selfish in life. So for Dharma to be part of you, you should be selfless. Surrender. When Krishna threw up, who wants me and who wants my army? Duryodhana said, oh my God, if I have to pick it up, I'll only pick up. And he said, I'll choose your army because that's mighty. Especially when Krishna declared, I'm not going to fight the war. I'll only be a charioteer. I will not fight. He said, you won't fight, then I'll pick up your army. Whereas Arjuna said, I want to surrender at your feet. Do or die, you be with me. And when you are with me, win is on my side. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Tatra Patro Dhanu, Tatra Shri Vijayu. When Krishna and Arjuna, when divine grace and ability mix together, it will result in wealth, valor, success, recognition, power, etc., etc., etc. So the mind to surrender. And the fourth ingredient is the mind to sacrifice. Success doesn't come without sacrifice. There is no success without sacrifice. Please be very, very clear. Tell me a person who has succeeded without some sacrifices in life. So Sacrifice is a very important, again, ingredient in life. And then finally, stay composed. So it starts, the second set starts with slow and steady. Then three important ingredients: selflessness, surrender, sacrifice, and staying composed. So this is the second bundle of Dharma. Now we come to the last bundle, the final bundle of Dharma, of again 5 pieces. First is Satyam. See, Satyam and Dharma are two sides of the same coin. Satyam is a state of mind, it's a state. And when you remain in that state, whatever you perform out of it will be Dharma. Mahatma Gandhi stayed on the platform of Satya throughout his life. And whatever fell out of him, ahimsa or courage or the grit to stand up and fight, everything was dharmic because he was staying on the platform of Satya. So if you want to perform Dharma as actions, the platform you have to choose in your life is Satya. So that's the third batch starts with that ingredient, Satya. Then it says 3 things. Please be sure about selfless efforts, successful efforts, rather than successful outcomes. Because that is something which the modern mind has to slowly understand. See, success in life is not arithmetic at all, my dear children. That's very important. People who are elders here will certainly go and connect. They will give you hundreds of examples, live examples. It's not that everything you sow will reap into your harvest. Life has its own dynamics. I don't want to get into the path of philosophy today. We can explain it about how karma, what is karma, what is karma bandha, and what is karma yoga. It's the same karma. If you do it with attachment, it becomes karma bandha. If you do it with detachment, it becomes karma yoga. How to do it? There's a beautiful set of principles evolved by our scriptures. Let's not get into that today. I'm just putting the ingredients of them. So successful effort is more important than successful outcomes. And the third is, this is something Krishna keeps telling again and again, and more importantly to Arjuna. He says, you want successful destination or successful experience. What is the difference? Successful destination means I have to achieve success. I have to see that I succeed. I want to go for the kill. Then you must also be prepared to receive a defeat, because it's possible, especially as chartered accountants appearing in courts, as lawyers doing cases. Good cases are lost and bad cases are won. It's so common in our life. So, do you want successful destination or success? So Krishna says, if you are attached to your outcome, then if you get success, then it goes to your head, your ego bloats. If it results in failure, then you get dejected and then start fighting, hating the society, hating the things that is happening around you. Instead, we have put our efforts, success and failure has to come. Let's live through that as an experience. Then you will stay calm and composed. For somebody to stay in Dharma, short successes and short failures cannot be an interference or a hurdle at all. It will come and go. Vision is ultimate. See, somebody does a scientific discovery after 35 years. For 35 years, he has done it. Rest have run the miles only 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, halfway, almost 80%. And you give it up, you have lost it. So you have to run through the whole course if you want. So this is very important. Translate your actions into experiences rather than as destination points. You should have goal in life. You should have vision in life. I don't say you should work visionless. That's not what I'm saying. Have the goal and prepare the team for the goal. You work as a team and as a leader or a team member in that group and work for that goal and do your best. But understand the results that come out of you should give you only an experience and not a destination. This is something, a small mind game, if you want to stay in there. Otherwise, it's not necessary. And say the fourth, which we have seen even earlier, is about Samarpana Buddhi. What do you mean by Samarpana Buddhi? ready to offer, whether it is a professional. Can you do your profession as a duty? Now, people have done as a duty to serve humanity. All of us, in some way, small or big, would have been connected at this pandemic in some way. Why? Because we are ready to offer. If that becomes slowly our nature, then Samarpana Buddhi will erase two things from our life. It will erase ego and it will erase greed. And therefore, it will facilitate us to practice Dharma. And the last fifth ingredient is, if you have all these four in mind, by default, your guna, your basic guna will be a sattva guna, a soft, not soft, a guna which stays on truth, on the side of Dharma. Sattva enables you to perform dharmic deeds because that is the attribute of sattva. So, self-confidence we started as the first ingredient and we land up finally in sattva guna. These are the 15 baby steps which one needs to take in life. And if you take so, what are the results? Take Bhishma. He had no ego. He was totally committed to his promise, but he overlooked certain adharmic actions in life, which he could have interfered using his authority, which he didn't. Take Drona, one of the most talented, one of the most intelligent, one of the most brightest teachers, an unparalleled teacher. But he had ego. He failed. Take Karna. He believed in Dharma, but he was selfish and he was in wrong company and he failed. Take Yudhishthira. He had no ego. He had Krishna on his side to guide, and he was willing to follow the guidance of Krishna and tread that path. And he avoided people who are cunning and crooked in his life. And he finally reached the destination. So, the choices again too, we'll close with this. Present day Dharma, which is adharmic, if you encourage, if you want to stay on course in that, and not in the, if you fall in line with this 50, you will one day outshine this world. You will be part of the contribution of Dharma like Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira established a big empire, and in fact, because of time, I wanted to say about the story of Putra also, but we will deal it. There'll be occasions to come. So that will lead you there. On the contrary, if you're going to now do the other one, give up Dharma and then lead a life, whether it's an individual's family, society, or nation, first stage will be restlessness. The place you live, the society you inherit, and the society which you will be conveying in future will be a restless society. And restlessness leads to conflicts. And conflicts leads to destruction. And once something gets destructed, what gets filtered and stays back after the destruction is hatred, vengeance, vindictiveness, jealousy, bad mouthing. Put any damn ingredient you want. So ask a question to yourself as a professional and as a human being, whether we should contribute to a situation which leads to conflict, restlessness, conflict, and destruction, or harmony, peace, and contentment. Choice is yours. And I'm extremely thankful again to Sri Priya and also Om, who introduced to me. And thanks a lot, Om, for sparing your valuable time and speaking kind words about me, which I don't know whether I deserve it. But I owe my entire existence to my spiritual guru, the saints of Sringeri, and my profession entirely to my guru, Mr. C. Natarajan. But for him, I'm not I don't come from a family of lawyers. He actually held me in his hands. And I say this today, he was referring to that I started practice in 2003. I started it on June 11th, 2003. And I've completed 18 years today. So there are two precious gifts, one given by Sri Priya, were asking me to deliver this talk. And my son today presented me a beautiful picture of me and my senior, as though we are together. So after 18 years, I have rejoined him. Is what I feel. Great moments. And I thank you once again, Sri Priya and Om Prakash, and my young children who are all watching. Please do ruminate over it. And if you have still doubts, I'm willing to help. And I'm willing to learn from all of you if I'm wrong. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Namaste.
So thank you very, very much, NV sir. And I don't know if I can say anything which can sort of make this event better, given your outstanding oration. So I'd like to thank you for this amazing lecture on professional dharma, a lecture that will be remembered for a long time, and thanks to the YouTube link of being extremely reflective, humane, spiritual, and above all, the word that we all like to hear about, very, very deeply secular. And when we were talking about the princess, where she had to pick a lot on her husband, I was reminded of another story from Greek mythology on the story of Penelope. And then I realized that dharma is so universal. And in weaving this lecture, thank you so much for taking us through an incredible journey of appreciating dharma, artha, kama, moksha, the 7 Ds as a consequence of decline in dharma. And sir, maybe you should write a small article on this, because I think it could be just a lot easier for others to grasp. The 15 S's, which are the steps towards dharma, and very, very nice stories from the Mahabharata that we've heard as children and would like to hear again. And since you were speaking about the Mahabharata, I found another uncanny coincidence. And you sort of walk much and often the portals of the Supreme Court. So the emblem of the Supreme Court actually has these words, Yato dharmos tato jayaha. Wherever there is dharma, there is victory. And very interestingly, I'm told it's referred to in the Mahabharata 11 times, including the final lament of Gandhari when the Kauravas had lost their battle, from Arjuna to Yudhishthira and from Bhishma to Duryodhana. And so absolutely mind-boggling, spellbinding lecture. Your speech today, and this is the last line I'm going to say, was a very, very important reminder that to us, in fact, I've had very casual conversations with you, and I did not realize it would be this well-structured and eloquent. And I'm sure a lot of effort has actually gone into making this lecture. You reminded us that words are extremely potent. Words can captivate, command, influence, impel. And such words in the hands of somebody so well-read, somebody taking so much of effort to deliver this lecture, somebody so articulate and eloquent, can become very, very powerful instruments of inspiration and change. And in this case, propel all of us a little more towards the path of dharma. And a bulk of this audience, I'm sure, our chartered accountants, 200, 250 who footfall this event, this lecture today, and maybe even more. We're often taught professional ethics in our CA course. But then today, after your lecture, one realizes that it's finally professional, it's personal ethics rather than professional ethics. It's what ethics is intimately wired between your mind and your heart is what makes it, and that's what dharma is all about. So thank you once again, Sri Envi, for this absolutely amazing lecture. And despite your very, very high professional commitments and your role in the government and being the ASG, thank you so much for taking your time off to be with us today here. And we look forward to more. And once again, namaskaram, sir. And thank you very much to every one of you who attended this event. And I was tracking the YouTube for some time, and very, very nice compliments and comments. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Namaste to all of you.